Hello, welcome to Leadership Live. And my question for you today, what are the five biggest mistakes that you have made when it comes to planning an event? Now, if you have to put together a leadership meeting for your team or your organization, you try your best to put together the perfect event. Like I said, you want to make sure that everything is together when you're putting on an event because you're investing in your culture. You're investing in everything. So you make sure the room is set up right. You make sure that you get all of the right things on the agenda. And you also have to find the right speaker. Now, you might do all of those other things well, but time and time again, some people who are planning a meeting make a serious mistake when it comes to picking a speaker. They literally pick the wrong speaker, not because they're a bad person or because they're not good at what they do, because they didn't ask the speaker the right question. And so today, I want to give you the five questions that you need to ask every speaker before you bring someone in the room in front of your C-suite leaders, in front of your leadership team, in front of your workforce. It doesn't matter the audience. You want to pick the right speaker who is going to add to your culture, who's going to add value to your organization, who's going to make sure that this message lasts beyond the day that it was delivered to that team. You want to pick the right speaker. But many times I found is that people make a huge mistake. And see, when you make a mistake and bring the wrong speaker into the room, it's not just a wasted day, it's wasted time, it's wasted momentum, it's wasted culture because their keynote fell flat. And when I say fell flat, I mean it was like people are like checking out before they even, get halfway through the message. You don't want to have that happening. So here's how I want to share these five questions. I want to give them to you, and I'm going to give them to you at the end. And I hope that they're valuable to you because these are the questions that I love getting asked as a speaker. That when I'm doing my pre-event calls with clients, I love it when they're this thoughtful, this determined, this dedicated to making sure that my role in their event hits the mark and more specifically gives them what they need, the momentum that they need to continue to transform their organization. So I'm going to give them to you. I'm going to give them to you at the end. We won't be long today. I want to give you an impact message today. But first, I got to tell you about Devin. See, Devin is someone that I met in 2017. She worked for a national nonprofit that was a big organization, and they were putting together a big conference. They had a big theme, and they had plenty of big goals, and they also had big expectations. And she vetted through speakers. And when I mean vetted through speakers, she looked at their speaker one sheet or their speaker kit. She looked at their website. She looked at their demo reel. She even saw that they had a TED Talk video. So this speaker must be great because they got a website, they got a reel, they got a TED Talk video, and they got a one sheet. So she hires a speaker. And you know what they didn't have? They had all those other things, they didn't have? They didn't have fresh, relevant content that spoke to the challenges that the organization was having. Instead, they delivered the same old gravy, just warmed over. A repackaged, repurposed, reframed keynote that they had been delivering for multiple years. That the content didn't even speak to their industry. That they were using for-profit jargon like shareholders and ROI and all kinds of other terms that if you're in the nonprofit sector, this doesn't resonate too well because you're a mission-driven organization. You don't have shareholders, you have stakeholders, okay? Not only do you not look for ROI, you look to, make sure that you expend every resource back into the mission of the organization. This is not about turning a profit. But this speaker didn't have that, didn't understand that. So when they stood up on that stage and delivered that keynote. And when they finished, you know what they got afterwards? Crickets. That's right. They got a golf clap. The pleasant, nice, well, thank you for being here today. Can we move on to the rest of the agenda? And when this happened, Devin told me she felt it in her gut. Not only did she feel it, the sponsors that she had talked into sponsoring that event felt it. Not only did the sponsors feel it, the C-suite felt it. And Devin knew that the speaker wasn't going to look bad when they left and got their check and moved on. She was going to look bad. They were going to look at her sideways for, why did you bring this clown? And I'm saying clown. The person wasn't a clown, probably not a clown at all, but they didn't deliver what was needed to be delivered. And Devin told me all of this when I met her the next year. And I told her, I said, Devin, if I had $1 for every time somebody told me a story about how they picked the wrong speaker, then I could probably take us out to a good steak dinner. It would be several hundreds of times that I've heard that. And it's not that speakers are bad. It's that they're not the right speaker. It's not that they're the best speaker. And it's not that the speaker did a whole lot wrong, other than the fact you didn't ask them the right questions to ensure what they had. Because good speakers are more than a viral TikTok video. They're more than a viral YouTube video. They're more than a slick website, a good demo reel that has all of the edits of the good parts, and you don't get to see them deliver a 45-minute presentation or a 90-minute point. Even a 90-minute point is better than just the hijacked edits that sometimes people can do on video. A good speaker is better than just a TED Talk. As a matter of fact, if we're really being honest about it, the overwhelming majority of people who do TED Talks have an idea that's worth sharing. An idea that's worth sharing. That's the essence of TEDx Talks or TED Talks, right? You want to share ideas. But if you want organizational transformation, you need much more than an idea. You actually need a process. You need an implementable game plan. You need action steps that people can take to build the culture that you want to build. You need more than a viral video, a TED Talk. You need engagement. You need education. You need insight. You need experiential learning. That's what you want from a speaker. And so after 25 years of me being at the front of the room or on the stage, at the front of the boardroom, in the conference room, in the training room, talking to groups, teams, leaders, and organizations, I know whether this is going to be a great match by the questions that I get asked by the meeting planner, the committee who's selecting the speaker, and the C-suite executive who might be involved in the process. So I'm going to give you the 5 questions that you need to ask. And Keith, you're right. They got great content, but the delivery has no passion. Data can be presented with excitement. Absolutely, I agree. Like, you can literally have a data presentation that's spreadsheets and charts, but you got to tell a story with the data. See, the data is the facts. The facts tell, but the stories sell. And you got to be able to tell a story with the data, because that's the only way people are going to make sense of it. So I want to give you some questions that if you're planning a meeting, if you're planning an event for your leadership team and you got goals for that event, like you've been thinking about this event all year. You literally plan this event every year. So you need to be thoughtful and detailed about what you put on stage, who's in the room, how things are positioned, the materials, the leave behinds, what's the overarching goals for the event. If you got all of that, You got to have the right questions. You got to ask your speaker, your prospective speakers, the right questions before the event, long before you even pick them. When I say before the event, just don't pick the speaker and then ask them the questions. When you're going through your vetting process, when you're vetting out if this person is the right fit for us, our team, don't just read their bio and say, oh, they look cool. Because you and I both know there's some people with some cool bios. We've seen them all. But a cool bio doesn't mean you can deliver from the stage. Don't think Bob from marketing is a bad person. Bob from marketing got a great bio. He worked for Disney. He worked for Nike. He worked for Amazon. He worked for all of these people and did marketing. But now he works for you. And you think just because Bob from marketing works for you, he's going to be a great speaker for your leadership meeting. No, he is Bob from marketing. Don't call your kid's soccer coach who you've seen motivate 12-year-olds on Saturday mornings before they go out on the pitch and think you can bring him into the company to speak. He's a soccer coach. He doesn't know much about your company. He doesn't know all of the details of what's going on. Carlton, you're exactly right. Implementation over ideation. Here are the 5 questions. Let me get to them. Question number 1 is, how do you tailor your message to our industry and our organization? Very simple question. How do you tailor your message to our industry and our organization? See, if a speaker can't effectively answer how his or her message relates to your industry, to your organization, and more specifically, the challenges that you're having in your organization, they might deliver a great message. They might deliver a message that's relevant to somebody, but it ain't going to be relevant to you and your needs at present time. You gotta make sure that this person can tailor their message to your industry and to your organization. Okay? Here's the second question. What change should we expect after your keynote? Second question is, what change should we expect after your keynote? Now, the reason why this question is a great question is because you don't want a leader who just gives inspiration. You want a leader who gives organization and application. That organized information that people can apply right away so you can see the change and how they show up in meetings in the organization. Okay? So the whole important point of all of this is you got to know that you're going to get change after their keynote. And Keith, I see you here. You're asked to take the stage and provide a keynote in October for a large summit. Don't repurpose the old content, brother. Don't at all. Okay? Add something fresh. Add something new. Talk about something that's topical and relevant for them. Make sure that you hit it in every way, shape, or form. So the second question is, what change should we expect after we hear your talk? Okay? Now, here's the third question. This is the one that is a separator. And when I mean separator, this is a separator in the industry. Third question is, can you share with us feedback from past clients that you've worked with? That's a key question. I want you to think about it. I'm going to say it again. Can you share with us some feedback from past clients that you've delivered presentations to? I'm going to give you multiple ways to say the same thing. The key is you got to get some feedback. You got to see how they've shown up to other people. Now, what do I mean feedback? Like, they should have some survey results, because most organizations, when they do a meeting, after the meeting is done, they send an evaluation survey to the entire audience. Some companies do them on their own. Some people hire third-party, validators to ask them, so tell us about your experience at the conference. What did you think about the opening speaker? What did you think about the closing speaker? What did you think about the luncheon speaker? Did you like the food? What did you like about the venue? Well, what would you change if you were doing you? They give you that kind of feedback, right? The audience asks for that. I mean, you ask for that feedback from the audience, they give it to you. And so the organizations that this person has worked with in the past should be sharing that information with them. So they actually got real tangible feedback that I was rated 9 out of 10 in my last 20 presentations, or I received 4 out of 5 stars at my last presentations. Like, you want feedback. You also want testimonials. You want people who can say words about what they took away from the speech or how good the speech was, how impactful the speech was. If they cannot deliver feedback and testimonials, evaluative data to know whether they're good or not, you know what this might say? This might be their first time actually on stage delivering a paid presentation. This might be their first time on stage delivering in your industry to audiences like yours. So you don't want to take a risk on an amateur. You want to take a risk on a professional. Professionals have some expertise. In addition to the expertise, all professional speakers that I know that are good at what they do, they have evaluation data. They have testimonials, written testimonials. Some of us have video testimonials of people saying, this was the best speaker I've ever heard. He gave me actionable, tangible stuff that I can use with my team right now. Those are the things that you want. That's the third question. Can you share with us some feedback from past clients, other organizations that you've worked with? That is a relevant question. Now, here's the fourth question. This is a big one too, one that a lot of people don't have. How do you equip us after the event is over? How do you equip us after the event is over? Now, here's what I am telling you right now. After the event is over, do they give you a book, a workbook, a resource, a post-event check-in call? There should be something that the speaker, when they leave the stage, that gives you some value long after they're gone. It might be a toolkit or a checklist, something that allows the message, the learning, the strategies to continue when the event is over. It's got to be something. And the best speakers got multiple things. For example, I give everybody a toolkit, a leadership toolkit. It's up to you if you want it. I'm not forcing it down your throat, but if you want to be a leader that has influence and impact, transforms culture, creates a world-class culture, and becomes a leader that everybody admires, then I'm going to give you a free toolkit to keep the learning going. Not only that, I have 3 books that I could offer to teams and leaders and organizations to keep the learning and going. And guess what? If you buy the books in bulk from me, I'm now throwing in a free 1-hour book club session over Zoom a month after the event. I want to make sure that a month later that my message is still resonating, or that when you go back and try to implement the things, if there's some challenges and some struggles that you're having, go to the book, get the references, the insights out of it, and I'll jump on a Zoom and we can talk through your challenges. So you want to ask the question, how do you equip us after the event is over? That's what you want to ask. Now, here's the last one. This is a question that is really going to disrupt your thinking about all of this that I've shared today. When I mean disrupt it, I want you to know that there's a lot of great speakers, okay? There are a lot of great speakers. I know plenty of them. I have a credential called a CSP, which is a certified speaking professional that you can't easily get unless for 10 years you delivered at least 50 paid presentations to multiple audiences. You've been evaluated by those audiences. They give you a score, and that you got people who are willing to take a anonymous survey, not an anonymous, but a confidential survey about your performance as a speaker, right? And so if you don't get 80+%, you can't qualify to get to the CSP if you don't hit all of those other metrics, right? So I'm not telling you to go get a CSP. Here's what I'm telling you. This last question is the one that I found is a separator in the 21st century. This last question is the one that I found is the separator from the best speakers on the planet to those who used to be the best or maybe pretended to be the best, but they cannot translate their message to the world that we are currently in. And here's the question. How do you navigate sensitive subjects with diverse audiences? How do you navigate sensitive subjects with diverse audiences? Now, here's what I'm saying to you. We know in 2025, like in 2024, in 2023, in 2022, in 2021, in 2020, that there are a lot of difficult subjects. Politics has injected itself in our workplace. COVID-19 had people on both sides of the perspective about whether to take the vaccine or to not take the vaccine. The death of George Floyd and so many other tragic events have brought race to the forefront. The whole issue around gun violence and people's position on assault weapons and access to guns is in the workplace. The Dobbs decision over affirmative action. And not the Dobbs decision. The Dobbs decision was around abortion. But there was another decision around affirmative action. All of these politically charged subjects, socially charged subjects, have made their way into the workplace. And you as an organization might want to pretend that, oh, we can't talk about those things. But your audience is thinking about them. Everybody in the audience is wondering, what are we going to say about what happened in the news yesterday that is going to affect our industry, that is going to affect our way of life, that's going to affect our ability to meet our customers? Your team is thinking about it. And you might want to avoid it, but you really need a speaker who knows how to navigate it, not avoid it, how to navigate it, how to speak to every dimension of diversity that is in your audience. The Gen Zs that you just hired last year, the millennials who've been with you for 10 years but are skeptical, or the Gen Xers who are so over people being offended and want to say what they want to say, or maybe the 1 or 2 baby boomers who you still got in the workforce who's like, all of y'all are soft. If you got a diverse workforce generationally, if you got a diverse workforce by gender or gender identity or sexual orientation, if you got a diverse workforce that is racially diverse, ethnically diverse, culturally diverse, geographically diverse, you might be an international company with people who don't understand all of the race issues because they live in a nation where they don't classify that way. Do you have a speaker who can navigate sensitive subjects with diverse audiences? So you should ask the question, how do you navigate sensitive subjects with diverse audiences? The speaker with the canned presentation can't do that. They can't. They're going to avoid the subjects. They're going to act like the elephant is not in the room. They're going to act like the 800-pound gorilla is not on the stage. And you know when they do that, what's going to happen? The audience is going to look at that person and fold their arms and say, this person is a fraud. This person, they don't get it. They're living in oblivion. Man, you know what I had to deal with before I got to this meeting? You know what I've been having to go through with my team? That I got employees asking me, what's my position on the Dobbs decision? I don't want to talk about abortion. What does that got to do with the job? But you have a 30-year workforce, 18 to 35, who these questions matter to them. They want to know what their leaders think about these things. So as a speaker, I know how to navigate in and out of them. But as a person who's planning an event, do you know how to ask this question to make sure that they can navigate these difficult conversations. You want to make sure of that. So those are my 5 questions for you today. I'm going to run through them again and give them to you. And you got to have a speaker who can navigate them, because you can't afford to have a bad meeting. Not in front of your C-suite, not in front of your employees, not in front of your sponsors. You don't want to look bad as a person who's planning a meeting. So here are the 5 questions. How do you tailor your message to fit our industry, our organization, and the issues that we're having right now? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, what change should we expect after your keynote? Question number 3 is, can you share some feedback from other client organizations that you've worked with? And number 4, how do you equip us after your presentation is over, after the event is over? And question number 5 is, how do you navigate sensitive subjects in front of diverse audiences? Sensitive topics in front of diverse audiences. Okay? So that's what I got for you today. If this video resonated with you in any way, shape, or form, I need you to follow me. I need you to like this video. I need you to share it with someone, because this information is too valuable for us to hold it inside. I don't want to hold it inside. That's why I write about it. That's why I'm speaking about it now, is that I want to equip you to build the best culture. And your best culture starts with the best events. The best events are planned, that are put together with great detail. And it means you have to have the right speaker. But you will have the absolute wrong speaker, like Devin had the wrong speaker, because she didn't ask these 5 questions. So I want to thank you for watching. Stay tuned next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel, for Leadership Live with Anton Gunn. Again, please like, share, subscribe, follow for more content if this is relevant to you. And we'll see you next week. Have a fantastic day.